When primal dawn spread on the eastern sky her fingertips of rose, Odysseus's true son Telemachus stood up, drew on his tunic and his mantle, slung on a sword belt and a new-edged sword, tied his smooth feet into good rawhide sandals, and left his room, a god's brilliance upon him. He found the criers with clarion voices, and told them to muster the unshorn Achaeans in full assembly. The call sang out, and the men came streaming in. The crier, Pisenor, master of debate, brought him the staff and placed it in Telemachus's hand. Then the boy touched the old man's shoulder and said, "No need to wonder any more, sir, who called this session. The distress is mine. My distinguished father is lost, who ruled among you all once, mild as a father, and there is now this greater evil still. My home and all I have are being ruined. Mother wanted no suitors, but like a pack they came, sons of the best men here among them, lads with no stomach for an introduction to Icarios, her father across the sea. He would require a wedding gift and give her to someone who found favor in her eyes. No, these men spend their days around our house, killing our beeves and sheep and fatted goats, carousing, soaking up our good dark wine, not caring what they do. They squander everything. We have no strong Odysseus to defend us, and as to putting up a fight ourselves, we'd only show our incompetence in arms. Expel them, yes, if I only had the power. The whole thing's out of hand, insufferable. My house is being plundered. Is this courtesy? Where is your indignation? Where is your shame?" A wave of sympathy ran through the crowd, and they all hushed, and no one there had the audacity to answer harshly, except Antinous, who said, "What high and mighty talk, Telemachus! No holding you. You want to shame us and humiliate us, but you should know the suitors are not to blame. It is your own dear incomparable cunning mother. For 3 years, and it will soon be 4, she has been breaking the hearts of these Achaeans. Here is an instance of her trickery. She had her great loom standing in the hall, and the fine warp of some vast fabric on it. We were attending her, and she said to us, 'Young men, my suitors, now my lord is dead, let me finish my weaving before I marry, or else my thread will have been spun in vain. It is a shroud I weave for Lord Laertes, when cold death comes to lay him on his bier.' We have men's hearts, and she touched them, so we agreed. So every day she wove on this great loom, but every night by torchlight she unwove it. And so for 3 years she deceived the Achaeans. But when the season brought the 4th around, one of her maids, who knew the secret, told us. We found her unraveling the splendid shroud, and she had to finish it then, although she hated it. Now here is the suitor's answer to you, Telemachus. You and all these Achaeans, mark it well. Dismiss your mother from the house, or make her marry the man her father names and she prefers. Does she intend to keep us dangling forever? For here are suitors eating up your property as long as she holds out. We will never go anywhere else until she takes an Achaean to her liking." But clear-headed Telemachus replied, "Antinous, can I banish my mother against her will? My mother, who bore me and took care of me. My father either dead or far away, but dearly I should pay for this at Icarios' her father's hands, if ever I sent her back. The powers of darkness would requite it too. My mother's parting curse would call hell's furies to punish me, along with the scorn of men. No, I can never give the word for this, but if your hearts are capable of shame, leave my hall, take your dinner elsewhere, consume your own stores. I beg Zeus, you will get what you deserve." And now Zeus, who views the wide world, sent a sign to him. launching a pair of eagles from the mountain crest in gliding flight down the soft blowing wind, wingtip to wingtip quivering taut, till high above the assembly of many voices the birds wheeled, their dense wings beating, and in havoc dropped on the heads of the crowd, a deathly omen, and then veered away on the right hand through the city. And astonished, gaping at the birds, the men felt their hearts flood, foreboding things to come. And now they heard the old lord Halitherses, keenest among the old at reading bird flight into accurate speech. In his anxiety for them, he rose and said, "Hear me, Ithacans! Hear what I have to say! Odysseus will not be absent from his family long. He is already near, carrying in him a bloody doom for all these men, and sorrow for many more on our high sea mark Ithaca. Let these suitors drop their suit. They had better without delay. I am old enough to know a sign when I see one." But Polybus's son, Eurymachus, retorted, "Old man, go tell the omens for your children at home, and try to keep them out of trouble. I'm more fit to interpret this than you are. Bird life aplenty is found in the sunny air, and not all of it is significant. Now before this whole assembly I advise Telemachus to send his mother to her father's house. Let them arrange her wedding there, and fix a portion suitable for a valued daughter. Until he does this, courtship will be our business. Vexing though it may be, we fear no one, certainly not Telemachus with all his talk, and we care nothing for your divining, old man, your useless talk. You'll just win our hatred by it. We will share his meat. We will give no thanks or fee to him, as long as she delays." Clear-headed Telemachus replied to this, "Eurymachus, and noble suitors all, I am finished with appeals and argument. The gods know, and the Achaeans know these things. Give me a fast ship and a crew of 20 who will see me through a voyage out and back. I'll go to sandy Pylos, then to Sparta, for news of my father since he sailed from Troy. If he's alive and beating his way home, I might hold out for another year. But if they tell me that he's dead and gone, then I can come back to this dear country and raise a mound for him and burn his gear with all the funeral honors that befit him. And then I will give my mother to another husband." The boy sat down in silence. Next to stand was Mentor, who was a comrade in arms of the Prince Odysseus, an old man now. Odysseus had let him authority over his house and slaves to guard them well. In his concern, he spoke to the assembly. "Hear me, Ithacans. Hear what I have to say. It is so clear that no one here remembers how like a gentle father Odysseus ruled you. I find it less revolting that the suitors carry their malice into violent acts. At least they stake their lives when they go pillaging the house of Odysseus, their lives upon it that he will not come home again. No, what sickens me is to see this whole community sitting still, and never a voice or a hand raised against them, a mere handful compared with you." Leocritus, Euenor's son, replied to Mentor, "Mentor, what mischief are you raking up? Would this crowd risk the sword edge over a dinner? Suppose Odysseus himself indeed came in and found the suitors at his table. He might be hot to drive them out, but what then? Never would he enjoy his wife again. He'd only bring down abject death on himself against those odds." And on this note, they were quick to end their parley. The assembly broke up, everyone went home. The suitors went home to Odysseus's house again. But Telemachus walked down along the shore and washed his hands in the foam of the gray sea, and then said a prayer. "O God, O God of yesterday, guest in our house, who told me to take a ship on the hazy sea for news of my lost father, listen to me, and now be near me. And Athena was nearby, and came to him, putting on Mentor's figure and his tone, the warm, deep voice and lucid flight of words.
You'll never be faint-hearted or a fool, Telemachus, if you have your father's spirit. The son is rare who measures with his father, and 1 in 1,000 is a better man, but you have the sap and the wit and the prudence, for you get that from your father Odysseus, to give you a fair chance of winning through. So never mind the suitors and their ways. There's no judgment in them, neither do they know anything of death and the black terror close upon them, doomsday on them all.
This was the divine speech Telemachus heard from Athena, Zeus's daughter. He stayed no longer, but then took his heartache home and found the robust suitors there at work, skinning goats and roasting pigs in his courtyard. Antinous came straight over, laughing at him, took him by the hand with a bold greeting. "High-handed Telemachus, control your temper. Come on, get over it. No more grim thoughts." Telemachus replied with no confusion. "Antinous, I cannot see myself again taking a quiet dinner in your company. Isn't it enough that you would strip my house under my very nose when I was young? And now, being grown, I know what others say, and I understand it all, and my heart is full. I will bring black doom upon you if I can." And calmly Telemachus drew his hand from Antinous' hand. And at this the suitors, while they dressed their meat, began to exchange loud and mocking talk of him. Telemachus went on through the storeroom of his father, a great vault where gold and bronze lay piled along with chests of clothes and fragrant oil. The double folding doors were tightly locked and guarded night and day by the serving woman, Euryclea. Telemachus called her to the storeroom, saying, "Nurse, get a few two-handled traveling jugs and fill them with wine. Then 12 amphorae will do it. Pour out barley into leather bags. Collect these things, and after dark I'll come for them. I will sail to sandy Pylos and then to Sparta to see what news there is of my father." His loving nurse Euryclea gave a cry. With tears springing into her eyes, she wailed softly, "Dear child, whatever put this in your head? Why do you want to go so far into the world? Lord Odysseus died in some strange place far from his homeland. Think how, when you have turned your back, these men will plot to kill you and share all your things." But seeing all clear, Telemachus replied, "Take heart, nurse. There is a god behind this plan." And so the old woman vowed by all the gods, and vowed again to carry out his wishes. Telemachus rejoined the suitors. Meanwhile, the goddess with gray eyes had other business. Disguised as Telemachus, she roamed the town, taking each likely man aside and telling him, "Meet us at nightfall at the ship." And the crewmen gathered, sent there by the goddess. Then to Telemachus the gray-eyed goddess appeared again, with Mentor's form and voice, calling him out of the lofty, empty hall. "Telemachus, your crew of fighting men is ready at the oars, and waiting for you. Come on, no point in holding up the sailing." And Pallas Athena turned like the wind, running ahead of him. Telemachus followed in her footsteps down to the seaside, where they found the ship and oarsmen with flowing hair at the water's edge. Telemachus, now strong in the magic, cried, "Come with me, friends!" And he turned and led the way, and the men came after. Telemachus then stepped aboard. Athena took her position aft, and he sat by her. Gray-eyed Athena stirred them a following wind, and as he felt the wind, Telemachus called to all hands to break out mast and sail. They pushed the fir mast high, and stepped it firm amidships in the box, made fast the forestays, then hoisted up the white sail on its halyards until the wind caught, booming in the sail, and a flushing wave sang backward from the bow on either side as the ship got way upon her, holding her steady course. They made libations to the god, and the prow sheered through the night into the dawn.